Hi, you've reached Lori of Lori's Happy Stamps, and today I'm going to share with you the 3 cards here plus 7 alternatives for a Cozy Christmas October 2025. So let's get started. The first thing I did was, of course, make my own little cover for my stamps so I could find them easily. And the first card I made, well, first of all, each of these 3 cards have a front and a back of the card base. So I cut them in half. So immediately, instead of 9 cards, I would have potentially 18 cards. And I'm making a whole lot more than that. The first card looks like this, the one in the middle. And I just put some stars on the inside. For the envelope, I put some stars on the outside. For my Christmas tree, I put dimensionals underneath this part and then just laid it flat. So it has kind of a 3D effect. Stamped my Merry Christmas and added 2 of the sequins. And I'll let you know right now, you do not have enough sequins to make this whole card. But to make the card the way I did it, you're going to need a white card base that's 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then you need 1/2 of the base, and that'll be glued on the front edge to edge. And then, of course, you'll put your tear and tape on the back of here, glue it down flat. And then you need the pieces of the Christmas tree and stamp the Merry Christmas. So that card is an easy enough card to make. And that is card number 1. The second card is going to be the Joy card. And for the Joy card, I did exactly the same thing. I cut my card base in half, and then I created it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to have an 8.5 by 5.5 inch piece of white cardstock scored at 4 1/4, and I put some of the pecan pie stars down here in the corner. I did the same thing to the envelope down there. And then I cut my card base in half, glued it flat onto my white, and then I just built it from there. So you can take a look at it. I built the whole Joy piece first. I added the letters, and then I stamped the Joy to the world. And then I added these flocked pieces on the back, and then I bumped the whole thing up on dimensionals and added my sequins. So that is card number 2. For card number 3, we're doing exactly the same kind of thing. We're going to start with a white card base that is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then we're going to build our card from there. So again, if you don't want to make a lot of cards, then don't cut them in half like I do. But if you want to double your card stash, you certainly can. So this is card number 3. Very handsome card. And I put stars in the corners and up there. So what I did for this card, again, I started with my white card base. I stamped inside of it. And then I glued my piece of green right on the top, edge to edge. And then I added my my layering piece that they suggested with the kit. And I built my ornament. So I built my ornament first, then I popped it up on dimensionals, and then I added the Deck the Halls. So again, not a difficult card at all, and easy to double your stash if you start with a white card base first and cut your card bases that come in the kit in half. So let's start looking at the alternatives. And again, if you are a subscriber through me, you will receive a paper pumpkin envelope in the mail. Those have gone out in the mail, and there are extra parts and pieces in here for you. So I will be referring to them. You can use your own stash and create your own the way you want to. But the first card is using that cute gingerbread guy. I've given you 2 of them, so you can make 2 of these cards. And so you start with a card base that's 8.5 by 5.5, scored by at 4 1/4. You add the stars here. You're going to cut your gingerbread boy in half, and you're going to glue him flat at a little bit of an angle, and add your own eyes and mouth. I just did that with a Sharpie marker. I took a piece of the, a piece of this piece here, and it is 1 7/8 by 2 3/4. So cut one of these pieces into 2 pieces, 1 7/8 by 2 3/4, and you can make 2 of them. So you can see I've got this guy ready, and this guy I will glue on like that, and then trim him off and add my Deck the Halls and bump it up on dimensionals. So a quick fun card that is cute for the holidays. So that is card number 1, alternative number 1. Alternative number 2 is, do you remember those kits that we could buy with cards in them? They were kind of large cards, and they had the big envelopes. Well, I figured out how to cut down the envelopes to make them 5 3/4 by 4 1/2. And I cut down the card base and made 2 cards with it. So this is the first card. That's the front. And then the back card. So I took my 8.5 by 5 1/2 and scored it at 4 1/4. And then with a dauber, I went around and made my green all the way around. And then I cut my card down to 4 by 5 1/4, and I will glue that flat onto there, and see how nice that border looks, like you had paper, but you don't. And then you will have one of these tags, and that was in the, what was that called? Hold on just a sec. Abundant Joy dies. They're the dies that go with this month and the next couple of months paper pumpkins. And I stamped Joy to the World on it, and I also die cut one of the joys that they have in that kit, and I bumped it up on dimensionals for the front. This one had a moon on it. This one did not, so I added my own moon using the my jelly roll pen. So use your jelly roll pen and make your own moon. And then I had some of the card left over, so I tore a piece of the snowbank, and that will be glued onto the inside of that card. So that's how you do alternative number 2. Oh, and to hide the hole in the tag, I just added a sequin. I used a large sequin because there's more large sequins than small sequins for some reason in this kit. Alrighty, so that is number 2. And if you want to know how I made the envelopes, let me just take a minute here. I took an envelope and I scored it at 4.5, right? Yes, at 4.5. And I scored it down at 5 3/4. Then what I will do is I will cut this piece and then fold the flaps over and then trim off my flap. And that's how I get a 4.5 by 5 3/4 envelope out of a 7 1/4 by 5 1/4 inch envelope. So again, if you've got these big envelopes, you're going to score it at 4.5 down here. Close this and score it at 4.5. And then you're going to score it at 5 3/4. And then you're going to flip it over and you're going to cut down where the score lines are on the inside. So the actual piece that you're going to cut off, you're going to cut off this piece. So then once you cut off this piece, then you can just fold this flap over, fold this flap up, trim off your top, and then you've got a smaller envelope. So if you're in my club, I sent you, I think, 4 of those. And if you want to do them ahead of time, you can. If you want to keep them the big size and make your cards the large size, you can do that as well. It's your choice. So now we have alternatives 3, 4, and 5. They're all done the same way. And so what I did for them is, excuse me, I took a piece of 8.5 by 5.5 and I scored it at 1 1/4 and 4 1/4. So then you get this little folded back piece right here. This piece is folded back. So when you open it, it looks like this. All right, and you're going to have some leftover pieces. That's what I used on the inside of my card. And I just stamped the Deck the Halls, and I stamped the extra Merry Christmases so I can add them any way I want. And then I put these guys together, and I glued this flat, and I glued this together. And I did the ornament, so you can see how you might want to do that. And then on these pieces, I cut one piece at 2 3/4 by 5 1/4 for the outside piece. And then you need 2 1-inch pieces by 5 1/4, 1 inch by 5 1/4. And they need to be alternate colors. So you need 2 of this and then 1 of a third color. And then, like I said, you need some of the little extra scrappies. So what you do is you're going to lay this flat, and you can use either the green or the red here. And again, it's 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. And you're going to glue that down. Then you'll see your score line right here, and you're going to fold it over, and you're going to glue that flap down. Then you will use your alternate color and glue that here, and then your repeating color, you'll do it, glue it right here. Then you can decide what you want for your piece. You can either use the ornament, or you can use the Christmas tree like that, or you can turn this card this way and you can add your joy to the world. So you can do actually 3 cards like this. So lots of fun. So that's how you put together cards 3, 4, and 5. And if you're in my group, we will be making these on, I didn't write the date. No, Friday, November the 7th. The first Friday of the month, Friday, November the 7th at 10 o'clock Pacific time. I have a fun little, let's see. Okay. A fun Zoom group that we get together and make our cards together. So you can prep any of your pieces beforehand, or even make them ahead of time and just chat with us. But okay, so this card is the Deck the Halls, and I used my own envelope. I put the Deck the Halls and I added my own little stars there, and I added some on the back. And I used a white piece of paper that is 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. And I used one of the Deck the Halls pieces. And again, I did the same technique. I used my dauber and went around the edges. And this one is with pecan pie for the Deck the Halls. This one is going to be the joy. And so that one will be like that. Then you're going to bump it up on dimensionals, and then you've got a piece of red ribbon that you're going to tie around the whole front piece and glue it on. I guess you could actually, if you wanted to, you could tie it onto the joy piece first and then bump that whole thing up on dimensionals, and then there's nothing on the back side of the card. So it's up to you how you want to do it, but I thought those looked cute, the Deck the Halls and the joy like that. So that's alternative 6. That one is very easy. Will take no time at all. And for the joy card, I just did the red stars and put the joy on the envelope. So then the last card, I am using a couple of extra pieces from Stampin' Up. I'm using the Heartfelt Hexagon, which is 162888. And I am using the Christmas Words embossing and dies, but I'm only using the embossing folder. And these, I really love them. I made 2 already. I'll be making 2 more on our Zoom, but let me show you what they look like. They look like this. So they open up and you have some pieces of cardstock on the inside. You can see the front has the raised words. And I cut out my own Merry Christmas because I ran out of the pieces from the kit. But to do that, all you need to do is have a piece of 8.5 by 5 1/2 thick white cardstock, scored at 4 1/4. I love the thick white cardstock for the base. And then you use the Hexagon punch and you cut out your pieces. And what's cool is once you cut one out, you can cut another one out, because you're going to do one center piece. And then what you do is you just build your pieces all around it. and you're going to glue them only onto the cardstock and then snip off the extra pieces, and then the extra pieces make a second card. So you actually get 2 cards in one. So I'm just laying these out the way maybe I would want this card to be. Maybe I want this one here. And maybe I want this one here. But anyway, you can see I lay it out. Then I glue them all down, trim them off, and then I've got all of those half pieces again. And when you use the half pieces, you can glue them directly onto another card. So these are actually the same. These, you can see these fit together like right there. Isn't that cool? So anyway, really fun. And again, I just stamped the Merry Christmas on a piece of cardstock, and then I trimmed around it with my snips. So that is card number 7. So honestly, I think I will have like 26 cards with using the pieces from the card kit, and I'll still have some extra pieces left. So you can really extend this kit. For my people that will be joining me on Zoom, I will see you Friday, November 7th. Your bits are in the mail. This video is yours to watch ahead of time, and I'll send you the link to the Zoom class. So have a great day.